context that last week, when we were looking at feelings, um, the concept of being in love, and it said that a feeling, the concept of being in love is attached to a feeling. It's a feeling based on a feeling. But life is more than about just feelings.
Yeah.
And so when I was going over the notes, that question came to me then. If that is, then where is its place, and which one is the truth, or the true one, or the permanent state? I don't know if I'm making myself. Yeah. So that's why it came to me there.
So, what exactly you wanted to put in place?
Put in place?
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to know the difference in the I'm in love based on what we discussed last week, and I'm in love, or I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So I was
That's
saying
exactly as Nicola mentioned.
what
You mean
Nicola.
was mentioning.
Okay. But which one is the okay? How to ask this? The only thing that come into my head is which one makes sense. Which one makes sense, and which one makes no sense.
I
Well,
think part of is like what Nicola said. You love everybody. You love yourself. You love is right. Love is just love. You love to be in love. When I think about being in love with somebody, I would think more on a romantic level. I am in love with your whatever it is about that person that you love. You tend to say you're in love with this particular person, whatever attributes, whatever. But generally, love is just love. We love irregardless. So you love everybody. So I just feel like in love for me is more like Nicola said, pertaining to romantic relationships.
So when you fall out of love, then you still
So you
love
don't
the
really fall, you
person.
don't really, you're not supposed to fall out of love, is fall out of the attachment to that person more so, right? You're not falling out of love because no matter what, you're supposed to love, regardless you love.
I was listening to Lisa, right? And I think there's a statement that somebody created to cause more confusion. Because love is love. Regardless of who the person is, love is love. And if you with a romantic partner, as the caption was absent, it shouldn't be that you in love with the person because then that will be based on an attachment.
Attachment, yeah.
So then it should just be I love the person because you don't hear, yeah, you just love the person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and love.
I
Go
sorry.
ahead, Sabrina.
No, you see this love thing kind of confusing, but in my mind, I am thinking, right, and I could be wrong. When you say in love with somebody, I am thinking more along the emotional side of it because being in love with somebody is an expression of or an emotion. But love, the word love is doing, it is action. Like how would I show I love Nicola? By knowing that Nicola loves coffee on a morning, and my love for Nicola would be okay. I'm going to bring coffee for you because I love you. I have that love for you. But when you think of being in love with somebody, it's just an emotional response to what you feel. But that's not showing any action there. There's no action there. It's just a feeling. So likewise, you could, like June was saying just now, what if you fall out of love with the person? You could fall in love and fall out once you get control of the emotion that you feel. I don't know if that's making any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question then. But then being in love and being out of love, would that then be based on ego?
I think it's just based on emotion and what you define as love. Because as I said, love is action. You're showing. When you ask somebody, okay, you're in a relationship, right? And you ask the person, what it is you love about me? They're supposed to tell you what you love about me. Do you love me or you love being in love with me? That's two different things. I don't know, just saying. Just saying.
Well, I think you're right. They made it up to confuse. And it's longer than movies.
Always.
It always sounds good in movies, right? Because when you ask them, oh, I'm in love, and then 2 days after, just so you fall out of love. So then what? You didn't love. It was just loss of control of the emotions.
Writing that down.
So then, what? When you say I fell in love with somebody, what does that mean? Because then you have to understand you could fall in love and you could therefore fall out of love. You know
Out
what
of
I
love.
mean? So love is eternal. Love is love. We love, you love, you love everything you're supposed to love. Just like you say, love is.
So that's what I say. Like, if you saying that you fell in love with somebody and fell out of love with somebody, then that love was based
On
on
the attachment.
conditions and
On the
attachment.
Right.
attachment,
You
yeah.
didn't really love the person, because if you truly love somebody, regardless of what the person does, you would still love them. You might decide, okay, you no longer deserve a certain space in my life, but you would still love them. You wouldn't want anything bad to happen to them or whatever. You
Yeah.
would still love the person. But if you're telling me, well, I fall out of love with you, I was based on conditioning.
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
so because when you think in relation to a parent and a child, like a parent would tolerate more bad behavior from a child because you really love your
Love
child.
Attached. So I think
So
it's the
no matter
attachment.
what, sometimes the child could be do whatever. Sometimes you always see on the news where this child was doing whatever and kill how much people, and the parent, what the parent does always say, he was a good boy or she was a good girl.
Being in love is based on attachment, because I think last week they said that too. When
Yeah.
something is based on attachment, if it doesn't go your way, your emotions, your feelings about it would
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
So let's clear it up for the understanding of who we are in love. So ideally, you are love. Spiritually, because you are spirit first, you are love. So there is no part of you that does not experience love. What happens when we interact with others who we don't really address in the sense that they are part of who we are, and the oneness of who we are is not understood completely? In that separation, we seek love. Remember, we seek love. Understood?
Yeah.
So what happens is we meet others because we must meet and form relationships with others. And because we are drawn within the feeling that we have towards another person or something or somewhere, we can be in love based on the feeling. If the feeling is pure and the love is flowing through you in that feeling without attachment, you will be experiencing love in several different levels. But if we have the attachment there, it's easy to put down that attachment and say we are no longer in love with the person, the place, or the thing. You follow?
Is it attachment or detachment that you fall out of love?
You're putting down the attachment, meaning that everything that you had built around the person, the place, or the thing, you no longer have it. And
So,
because you no longer have it, you fall out of love because the feeling has changed.
mhm.
But it's all on you because it's you trying to control love.
Awesome, yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So, so love isn't flowing freely because when you are in love with someone, in the purest sense, you would love them completely in several different areas of your life. These areas would always be areas that you are building you upon because we are always building ourselves. So you'll be building yourself based on the feeling that you have. Think of anything in life. Everything that you do is always based on how you feel. But can you think of any area that isn't that way? Any?
No.
Always. The feelings are there for us to develop ourselves, to grow, to know exactly how we should react, respond, how we should perform, how we should create. It's there for everything that we do, including people, place, and things. It's up to us to keep that in the purest sense. And for a lot of people, they don't. So you feel that I am in love with someone. This is the case in point that was mentioned before. Is it you truly in love with the person, or are you in love with the attachment and the feeling that you get from this person? Because when it's no longer there, then your expression would be different and you would feel I am no longer in love with the person, the place, or the thing. Yes, you can be in love with persons, places, and things. In relationships, because you are love, love should be before you, behind you, to the side of you, and flowing through you. That is the essential way that you show love. This is you not trying to maintain your love in a particular way so that you are not exposed, so that you are, as some say, you have to protect yourself and all these things that we utilize as conversation pieces, which are really based on ego. Love is all that there is, and love should be allowed to flow freely. When you meet someone, some would say the soul mate and all these different things. If you want to identify the closest thing to the soulmate, is the strongest bond that you can feel with someone. And you can have that same expression, that same bond with an animal. But we tend to color and put every single thing in the best box that we could find to rest it. And when we rest it in the box, we believe that all things should fit there. So we tend to live with this black and white, left and right, good or bad, right or wrong, way through life, not recognizing that life isn't about that. That's simply our definitions. And when we realize that things don't fit into our definition, we find difficulty and challenges with everything that we're trying to express feeling behind. You follow?
Yeah.
It's not too deep for anyone
No.
because
Oh,
it's
it is
very simple.
drowning deep.
If it's
It is drowning deep.
so, that's essentially as it is. But we have learned none of this. We see the separation. So you believe that this person here, I should love them more than this other person. When you meet someone that you feel strongly towards, you still should present yourself in the purest form and allow love to flow in the purest form. What would tend to happen naturally is that as you and this person who you're meant to be with, things would, like there is discipline and order throughout the universe. That love will find its discipline and order. So you would behave in discipline and order, and the person would behave in discipline and order. If that is not happening, then that relationship is nothing to stand on. If it was not discipline and order in the very beginning, but you all are working towards it because the feeling is genuine and the feeling is allowed to be as pure as possible, you are going to find discipline and order because the universe provides it all for you. And as a part of this glorious universe that we are collectively, you function and flow with the things in life. And relationships are no different. Whether it's friends, family, any relationship that you decide to sever, it's based on your understanding. Should I sever this or should I not? Which should be based on wisdom that is rested in truth. For there are some relationships that you no longer need, and there are some that you need to go to that you should not fear. All should rest on truth. The relationship, whether it's familial or courting, that should also be based on truth because you are building based on the feeling. But we give so much, I believe someone mentioned it earlier, so much basis in Hollywood. So much basis in terms of the understanding of what we believe it is, and we see the shows and we believe the shows and believe that this is what it is because they have defined it. So when we don't get that, we believe we are being, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Change.
Shortchanged. We
Change.
believe we are shortchanged, but that's not what it is. That's someone else's definition that you are trying to maintain as your pathway. Love is. Everyone said it, and everyone identifies with it. So you trying to fit love to fit you should only be based on truth. And because love is, it should be allowed to flow freely. Because when you are at the point when you had a relationship with someone for a number of years or maybe a few months, whichever it is, if you allow it to flow freely and you are not building, it is going to be destroyed like everything else in life that you don't give awareness and attention to. Or even if you are giving awareness and attention to and the other person is not, it is going to be destroyed. You don't have to hold on and cling. And this is what I needed for my life because you could identify immediately that's an attachment. And if you and someone are trying to build a relationship based on attachment, a point is going to happen where it's going to shake that foundation because that is not what it's supposed to be built on, even if it takes years. That's not what it's supposed to be built on, and the universe will always try to bring to whatever you are doing discipline and order. That's your function.
I have two questions.
Sure.
The first one is where you mentioned bring your purest self.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How do you bring your purest self? And
Your
two,
purest self, we go one
yes.
at a time. Your purest self is based in truth. The closest way to identify your truth would be how you feel. But if how you feel is based on the truth that belongs to someone else, your soul will erode it.
So, question: when you say truth, is it you mean that you being truthful in terms of speaking the truth and not telling lies, or what
No,
is
no, 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 no.
your truth?
If the words that were supposed to be spoken was about you being in a lying position, telling lies in relationship, that was not spoken. What we're speaking of is truth. Every day as you live in truth. Your truth as a child would have been central to your understanding of who you are.
Oh, so it's back to
As we get older, we drift away from that. So truth becomes defined by everything else, our values,
mm,
our being
mm,
in every aspect of life. So there's your truth, which will be different to everyone else's. And then there is truth that you would have been born with. As you go through life, you would tend to drift closer to your original truth. That is who you are. And when you function in truth, things flow differently for you, including love that you seek, or love you try to build, or any form of love that you express because you express love every single day in everything that you are doing. There is only love. You may not define it that way because your identification of self and your understanding of what is truth may be different because of your experiences.
mm-hmm.
But there is truth. The universe functions in truth, and that truth is undeniable. And your truth is always subject to change. The universe, the truth of the universe, is not subject to change. It is just as love is. So love is complete. Your truth may not be complete because it may be based on definitions that you picked up along the way. And when you get another definition, you base another understanding around that definition. So your truth is ever evolving. And as you get older, it gets closer to your original truth.
Mm,
So every experience you ever had will start to change
mm.
to bring you back to the beginning. Understood?
Yeah. So that's why they say like
There
people in
was
their 50s and stuff like that, they know who they are, they know what they want, and
They know they begin understanding life differently and
mm,
they tend to, based on everything else that they built upon, they
mm.
tend to be a little brash or short tempered and, different things they would deal with. But your truth is becoming closer to what you came with originally. Because think about the children. They know what they want it now.
Mm.
So we don't be upset with the older generation who, you know, I want this now. I don't want to hear about anything else. Because if you function in love, you would understand and you would have a exact amount of compassion and empathy for the older generation as much as they would have for the younger ones. But if your definitions are this is a child and children must be treated better than persons who are elderly, then there is something that you need to look at within yourself because your truth will put you in a position where you will have to deal with yourself eventually.
So is
I
life,
am.
I'm sorry, Catherine. Sorry. Is
Catherine
life,
has a second question.
oh, go ahead.
I'm still on the first one. Something I was
Okay.
grappling with through the sessions. And this week when I sat down, this week where we Monday? Okay, probably Saturday. And I was sitting down, sort of going over the lessons and the notes that I made and what we discussed.
Yeah.
And I was trying to meditate, or maybe I was meditating. But this thing came to me that anything that you do not face, that you're supposed to face and you don't face, will always come back to, it will always, you'll, whatever you try to run away from, then technically, will always come back and face you. And in the moment I sat down and I said, well, I was grappling with something. And I took a minute and I said, okay, you know what? What is the worst that could happen if I admitted this to myself? And I did that. And the whole, like a weight fell off of me. I felt like a weight went. And then as I was standing up, the words came to me, always talk the truth to yourself. Always speak the truth to yourself. And I said, wow. And I checked out myself during the week, checked out myself. And that overriding thing that was bothering me all the time, it just didn't seem to be there anymore.
Yeah. That's essentially what it is because you've been honest. And that's the key part of any relationship. But we tend to go into relationships trying to put our ego first because we would like to show the person who we are having the relationship with this side of me. What does they say? You better have. What is that? So are you not? So this is the definitions that we try to build our life around, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. We try to do this, and it sets us in difficult spaces. And we always try to seek to address these things because we try to get back the understanding of ourselves, the understanding of truth, and try to say, this is what I would like to achieve with my life. This is what I want out of the relationship. You would go to many psychologists, and Nicola, that is not in your space that we're speaking of here. And they would tell you that seek that. But before you seek that, you should know who you are. Because if you are defining yourself based on an identity that does not belong to you, you will be disingenuous in the relationship. How can you be? Because you haven't identified yourself. So how can you go into a relationship with someone pretending? Then you can actually go with your clock, knowing this will last this along this line. This time it will be finished by this date. You would know. So the only way to really go in any relationship is honest, truthful, whether it's in the office, dealing with colleagues, or at school, dealing with colleagues, dealing with husband, wife, whichever. Only way is to be honest, to be truthful. Has nothing to do with if you're lying. This is you being your genuine self. And the truth is, you are not sure exactly how you are being genuine. So this is where you work with your feeling. Because your feeling you would know. Because in order to feel, you must tap between your heart and your mind. That's how you feel. To connect to the emotion, you need the heart and the mind to work. Because that's a topic for a different day. But there is much to do with emotion. I believe it was mentioned earlier. There is much to do with emotion because your ability to connect to emotions can be mirrored in someone else. And if you connect mixed emotions, you are going to mirror it as well in your life. Truth is the only way forward with any relationship, whether it is plant, animal, place, anything within the universe. Truth. When you function in truth, you open doors and you will get the feelings necessary for you to grow. When you function without truth and you go into any relationship, you are going to get out of that relationship messages that will inform you what you need to do to grow. If you go into every relationship believing this is the one, you are functioning from an attachment. You are not functioning from truth. Love flows freely. You can't bottle it no matter how hard you try. And if you are in a relationship with someone and that person eyes drifts off to someone else, you function in truth. Know that you and all things are one, and you have learned and got to the point where things are the way that they are. Internally, your truth, you would know if you need to stand up based on your understanding of yourself. Do I stand up here to make a difference with my claims within my relationship? Or do I allow the person to step away without a speech? Only your truth you would know. And the only way to address that in the most perfect content is the understanding of self. There is much more happening in relationships that we are unaware of because we only see the physicality. We only see what our conscious awareness and our conscious experience tells us. But there's much more happening on the subconscious level and much happening in the unconscious zone that you are unaware of, which is not even the subconscious that we are speaking of. The unconscious zone, meaning your awareness is not 100%. Your awareness will only be to a particular that your senses can tune into. And then there are things that you are unaware of. So it's unconscious to you. This has nothing to do with subconscious. Because what you are putting in based on your truth, not I am showing love by buying things and I am showing love by rubbing feet and I'm doing so much things for the person, the subconscious notes that. The subconscious also notes more than anything else the expression of what you truly want. That so you are going to get the mirror of what is being written to the subconscious. Where the unconscious aspect is, these are the things that you would be unaware of, particularly more so when you do not function in truth. When you function in truth, remember we mentioned feeling. If you're not functioning in truth, where feeling is concerned, you would be entrapped because you would be functioning without the awareness that is beyond the senses that you have. I know everyone knows what we're speaking of here because you would know the same way that the mother who loves freely and loves the child is completely aware that something is wrong, even if the mother is at work and the child is at school. It's the exact same way in relationships. Do you understand why? Because we are all connected.
Yes.
But because we see separation and we do not function in truth, we are unaware of the other things that are happening on the unconscious level in relationships. Do you follow?
Yes.
No, are we lost?
Follow.
I need
Or do
to
you not
But
want
is
to
it?
admit?
But no, I
I need
feel
to
is
put some of it.
it that thing that is said? Well, it's not only women, but they say women have a sixth
It's for
sense.
everyone. Yes, correct. It's for everyone because we are
Yeah,
all connected.
but
You
it's
know,
like
you're leaving home and you're on the streets, and when you're coming home, the dog runs out even before the car turns the corner because the dog is aware. Yes, it's the same awareness in relationships, but we don't
My
tap
God,
into it
she's
because we
sleeping.
are not functioning in truth. Functioning built on attachments, and if you're built an attachment in a relationship, you are only going to see what you allow yourself to see.
I have a question.
Sure.
I remember there was this gentleman who we started chatting. And on the phone, there always seemed to be a pleasant flow, liking. But anytime he stood in front of me, I always got the impression that a clown was standing in front of me. It was like two different people until I just say, this, no, 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 no. It was like
At
a
the time, do you
clown.
know who you were?
Excuse
Were
me?
you at the time, were you functioning from truth as well?
Let me think. Yes, I think so.
Well,
I,
if you're
I
functioning from truth and the person appears to be a clown,
it was like whenever the person stood in front of me, I could actually sense the deceitfulness. The like a game was being played, but you couldn't sense that over the phone. It's only when the person was in front of me interacting one on one, then you could see some things. You could like I could. It just wasn't. It was just off. I tell you, even the glass of the juice I gave him once to drink, the glass broke in the sink. I say, "Oh, this is trouble." It was as though it was like two, like a mass wasn't there. Are we still on? Hello?
Yes, I think Quentin
Yeah,
got
hearing you. Yeah.
us.
It was like he couldn't maintain a mass. That the mass was possible over the phone, but not in
yeah,
person.
yeah.
And it was amazing to see how I would feel so irritated in his presence. But on the phone, everything feels like nice and nice and nice. And it just, what was that?
You remember we spoke on truth. So there is
Hmm.
truth, the truth, which all of us are involved in because we are spiritual beings, so we cannot escape the truth. And then there is your truth because you have a mind and you are living in a particular way that you choose by your own design. And there are times when, because of life, they will always intersect. When they intersect, truth will reveal itself to you in any form, whether it's in relationships or at work or whatever you are doing, you would know. So you may be about to head out to work one morning and I shouldn't go out at this time. I'll pull out 1 hour again. know that there's an intersection happening because that's the way it flows. In life, the closer that we can get to the truth is the more that life benefits us. We have a preoccupation for the win and to attract all the abundance and everything that we seem to see as what life is about. But life is about functioning within your growth and development. And your growth and development is becoming the greatest, the highest that you can be. So this will go across every aspect of your life, every area of your life, everything, every person, every place, every being along your journey. So truth will always be there. And you found it that day, and you would respond accordingly. If you don't respond, then you'll be stubborn. Just like this guy is. You would be stubborn. And when you're stubborn, well, we all know what the universe does to try to get you back where you should be. So you would feel pain, emotional pain, or sometimes physical pain to get where you should be because you either hold on to attachment or you're not functioning in truth.
So could I ask a
Let
question?
me get a question as well.
Sure.
Hi, good night, everyone.
Hi, Nicola.
Hi. How do you know when you're functioning, what you feel is functioning in truth, and when you're functioning in emotion? And I have one other question.
So we'll deal with the first one.
No problem.
As we mentioned before, everything will respond like a mirror to you. So you essentially, and I don't know if everyone got that yet from the discussion, but you are in a relationship with everything, and what you give off will return to you. So if what you give off you do not want, know for a fact that what you are expressing is not your truth. You're expressing something that's different. See it like this: there is the truth, there is your truth, and then there is what the drives, what you would like others to see. Your truth would be by which would be different between everyone. But what makes you function and similar to everyone as a spiritual being is the truth. So if you are living and giving off of yourself in the most genuine way that you can be, only you're not trying to be genuine to other people, to you. So understand that when you are going into a relationship, to allow love to flow through you, because the other person is going to receive from you your truth. So if receiving things you don't like in your life, unlike you, everyone around everyone, the universe doesn't box in stuff and bottle stuff and put labels on stuff and try to have things function the way we would like it to. The universe doesn't do that. The universe is. So things are allowed to flow and everything knows exactly where it should be, except for us, because we want it to suit us. But if it suits me, it may not work for you. Not working for you, that means that I am greater where the universe is. And the universe doesn't see this one is greater than another. The universe does not see this one is greater than another. in your truth, you would know automatically because they return to you immediately. The other part is if you have enough awareness to recognize that it is being returned to you. Because sometimes, because we are so focused on the attachment, we cannot see.
Mhm.
Other question?
Well, that question is, if you're in a relationship for some years, you all, you both individuals just grow and just change.
Yes.
Why they grow and change, you know, and things change. How do you? I just want to know how to effectively communicate to affect change. Meaning that when both of you all talk, you come to an understanding.
That's a good question, especially in light of what being discussed. Because it was established that if you are being genuine and the other person is also genuine, you will grow together. It's natural because every step of your life is evolution. Every step. So you will grow together. Where communication is concerned, communication flows because everything else is natural. And if everything is natural, communication will be allowed to flow freely. If we hold restrictions based on our understanding, because we are seeking to protect ourselves or we are seeking to not walk on,
Eggshells.
yes,
Eggshells.
that eggshells, to not walk on eggshells, we position ourselves for the difficulty. I would make it easier. We no longer be our genuine self because you are not allowing yourself to truly be. You're allowing yourself to be bottled or boxed into a particular way that you should function around particular people, places, or things. So your communication will be restricted, and when you restrict your communication, you cannot hear you. And if you cannot hear you, there is no growth. And if there is no growth within you, you are going to get situations in your life that will promote no growth. So expect that the relationship could be affected. So it is best to always allow everything to flow freely. Remove the things that impede communication because communication flows naturally based on where you are. The child couldn't speak, then the child could speak. The child could form words better, better, better. Articulation becomes greater later on. And as you increase knowledge, you increase your ability to communicate. Isn't that so?
Yeah,
Does it only work in the physical world and nothing else?
no,
Then we don't really have a full grasp of who we are. Communication flows freely. You can step out into your backyard and have excellent communication with the plants. Haven't you done it?
yes,
Hmm.
With the dog, with the animals, you can do it. Or do we tend to believe something else? That it works in certain areas, but it doesn't work because the person had too hard
Hmm.
or they're not listening to me. This is how those things that we just described there are based on an attachment and not on the truth. So you have positioned yourself and put yourself into a box that will make it difficult for you. And what happens, just as mentioned before, along the whole pathway and the growth, it's going to be shaken and decisions will have to be made to step this way or get closer. Understood?
Yes, I. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much.
I know we had a question from Lisa, and then I saw that Skyly had her hand up. So Lisa, you still have your question?
Yeah, so my question, kind of part off of Anika on that, and that was my original question, but part of what Anika's saying. So in a situation where you have two people, you
Yeah.
feel like you're growing, or you want to you're trying to grow and trying to be your true self, and you have the other person. Now you can't control the other person, right? You could only
Yeah.
control yourself. So in a situation where you feel like you're not getting through to that person, then what do? You just continue to work on yourself?
That's right. Who did you come into the world with?
Yourself.
No one else. You. So your journey is always about the management of you. Because you manage you so effectively, you will get into abundance and get into everything that is for you. When you don't acknowledge your true self and acknowledge yourself to be the best that you can, because you're always functioning as the best that you can, unless you choose to not do so, including relationships. When you function the best you can and you are in a relationship with someone and you are allowing love to flow freely through you, you will always know exactly what to do and say and be, because everything would flow naturally. If the other person is not, you still function on you. What are you going to do? Not function on you to focus on changing the other person. It's not going to work. And if you get to the point where between your heart and your mind, there is an agreement that this no longer works, then you know it's time to move on.
Okay.
If the heart says something different to the mind, then the feeling between the heart and mind will be mixed. So that means you need to really get in contact with your soul to know exactly what should be done here. But those things we don't do. We function and just react, function strictly from the mind, and then a couple of days after we are saddened and we would like that. So we return and then we are upset because we in the same situation, or we go into another relationship that provides the same outcome. There is so many things happening on so many different levels, but we only see love in love with this person, place, or thing without truly understanding who we are.
So my second question. So you know, just
Sure.
said like everything that come into your life, it come into your life for a reason, right? And everything is kind of like based on a learning experience. So in forming relationships, would you say like certain people come into your life may not be the right one? It could be like, okay, not true with yourself, but is it that they would come into your life to teach us a particular thing?
Everything about your life is structured upon creation and growth, including the people who would come into your life when you were 14, when you were 26, 42. It's just that those are random numbers. As a baby, there are certain people in your life. As you get older, different people coming into your life. When you choose someone and you say, I'm opening up myself to this person, the most effective way is to do it freely, knowing who you are. If you are being disingenuous with yourself, you are going to have a relationship that points into your direction the areas that you should grow. That's just the way that it flows. And who is creating that? You. That's the reality of it. You are doing it. Everyone, each of us, we do it. It's not something that's universal. The truth would be universal. But how you structure your life will be dependent on what you want. And if you are not sure of yourself completely, then you would just go along and there's no right or wrong or good or bad. You're just functioning because you are going to end up in a particular situation based on the circumstances of what you have chosen. So the more you could address your truth
Mm.
is the better for your well-being, the better for your life. But there's no one to point fingers apart from everyone else who tends to do that because society always believes they need to correct you. But you live and enjoy your life because everything about your life is built on your willingness to enjoy it. So if you don't want anything, you get nothing. And if you want too much of something, you get the results of that as well. Because wanting too much of something, we don't even have to spell the word anymore, but it starts with an A.
Does?
That's a major part of everything that we do. And it's simply because of how life is structured, which is not, that's a long conversation for another day. It's just the way that life is structured and the reason why we keep pulling for attachments. So you could live freely. I
I
heard
am not sure
question.
whether I have a question or a statement or I seek
Well,
clarification.
we all learn from what you say.
But for me, I got to a point in my life where I just said I just do not have the capacity anymore to start over relationships. I wasn't getting them right. I wasn't I just felt like every time one ended, it was like a little piece of me died. And like I was leaving pieces of myself somewhere. And then I say, it's just not making sense because I also have the whole confusion, people raised in Roman Catholic Church also have the confusion over sex outside of marriage and what is sin and what is not sin and what is moral and what is not moral and all of these different things. And now that I believe I've done some work on myself and I went and I looked. And the other thing I always find I take too long to look. To me, like I spend most of my life looking at what I did wrong and trying to figure it out before I try to even get back into another relationship. So that years have passed since I even had a relationship. This is a
Yeah,
terrible thing. Um, and now you find that I want to have that kind of relationship, that kind of partnering, that kind the whole question of marriage is another discussion. Um, but yet there's still I know what I want, but no, and I'm listening to the advice, and somehow it's creeping in. Lord, this is kind of frightening for me now, because it seems as though you have to just let go everything, let go and let things happen as they will, for want of a better word. And that now starts to raise some, because then when they tell you, you must ask for what you want, you must ask for the kind of man you want in your life, and you must be that kind of person. Suppose that's not what you're supposed to be getting to learn anything from, then you'll end up with some.
Well, I'll tell you a secret about that. And
Tell
I do
me.
believe Skylar had something to ask as well. But I'll tell you a secret about that. For everything in life, you need to know what you want. You must know what you want. But as one part of it. The other side of it is that you will always get what you need, and it will always be based on your understanding of truth. That's your truth as you define it. So you may want $1 million tomorrow, but there are things that not put in place for that to happen. And your truth may be that you will get $1 million, but it may happen 6 months from now. Case in point, your tendencies where relationships are concerned. And because you have all these definitions that you stand by, your truth does not align with your best interest. This is what you are holding and calling your truth, but it's not what you want. You are defining these are the things that I want, but it doesn't line up with truth. And as you are building yourself and coming closer and closer to the truth, you will find yourself in a situation where the things that you want will happen. But if you are holding on to the old boxes, the old definitions of what you think is best for your life based on things you have experienced from other relationships or things you saw on television or things that you have dictated to yourself as your best interest without identifying what you want from within, you will have a problem. So you mentioned advice, and none of what we're discussing here tonight is advice. It's just basically truth. And anyone can always discover. Just go quietly, sit by yourself, and speak to your soul. Get into meditation, get into mindfulness. You will get all the answers that you seek where that is concerned to define your existence. It's not an easy journey because it'll be brutal in some instances. And for your understanding, you need to take that glass, that beautiful crystal glass that you define and call Catherine, take it to the water and rinse that out and wash away all that sediment and dust of the past and leave it fresh and clean and ready, and continue your journey developing you, because as you develop you, the universe is going to reward you with the things that you want. So you don't have to try to define. I want everyone to understand what is being said. You don't have to define the thing specifically if you are functioning from the truth of who you are, because what is for you will come exactly as it is for you. But if you sit down trying to define based on what you have heard, and you know everyone has heard it, then you will be defining stuff that would assist you on your journey, but it may not be lasting. Understand?
Hmm.
So there's no reason to feel I've got a headache now, or I am burdened by this. Clean your glass. Put down all those things that you are holding on to. Set them down the river for that. Down the river. And make sure that that glass is clean so that, what you like, wine, the wine could be poured into there. You would have an excellent 2023.
Sky, is it
Granted.
Skyly?
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. I know your hand was raised quite a while ago.
Yes. I wanted to ask him how do I get my soul, my mind, and my heart to cooperate? And I know probably we've all been there where the soul is like feeling like, yeah, there's the way. And then the heart will be like, and then the mind will be like, nah. And you just can't get three of them to cooperate. And sometimes you listen to your soul and your heart is heavy and your mind is non-existent. And when you listen to your heart, you're crazy in your mind because everything might not work out how you expected. And when you even said when you listen to your mind, your heart and your soul still bleed. So how do I get all three of them to come to one clear goal and we go at that goal? How do I get all three of them to feel and think and want the same thing? I mean, my
I
heart doesn't
appreciate
respond, but my mind needs it. So I get everything.
appreciate the
Yeah.
question. To briefly answer Skylar's question, and please
Need
take
more
note
time?
because this is what we will discuss at
Next
the
week.
next.
Yeah.
Yes, we will discuss connection, which is
Okay.
the key word that you are looking for there.
Yeah.
So when you find that connection, because there is connection and then there is alignment. Connection is what happens when you are trying to put these things together, and alignment is when you are functioning from a higher order. It is difficult to put soul, mind, and heart together with your thinking. It's not a pattern that truly exists. Because in trying to put soul, mind, and heart together, you have to remove yourself, meaning your conscious awareness of what you are doing. In order to do this, you have to control the mind. And once you could control the mind and take charge of your understanding, the self starts to come forward. You can actually practice meditation, and in the practice of meditation, you will begin to harness the mind the way it should be. And when you harness the mind, you will begin to promote self. So your true self would start to come forward. And because your true self requires the use of your soul and your heart, you can start to make the connection. And with constant practice, that connection would transcend into your conscious awareness in your waking world. So we will go very deep on it at the next time we sit. But I hope that helps you understanding.
Yes, I understand a little better. And I was in other words, something like you have everything, but you can't have all three.
You would
Not all
you
three.
will achieve all three. Next time we sit, we will discuss how each one fits.
Okay.
All right, guys. It is now 8:20. So thank you for being here. Remember what next week's discussion